Listen, Ripon does an awful lot of good behind the scenes, and they do really good work. I'm proud of the accomplishments, and I'm proud that you're all there being supportive of the work that's being done, because they are doing good work. Let me also thank my former colleagues that are here. I'm looking at a couple here, but they're scattered around here. People who I've worked with for a long time, really great friends, and I'm glad that they're still engaged in what we're doing around here. A lot of things I could talk about, but most of you know enough about me. You know, and probably the most important thing that I learned along my 62 years on this earth was how to run a small business. And so, you know, I got a pretty good idea of the challenges that face our business community. And I think it's pretty clear that nobody on the President's economic team has any clue, because none of them have ever worked in a small business. They've never done anything. And you know, the President is going to show up tonight. He's going to try to act like this is his first year in office. He's going to try to act like the last 3 years he wasn't here. He was like backpacking around Europe. All right? But for the last 3 years, the President's policies have not worked. They've been on a spending binge. They've been on a regulating binge. And he's going to act like this is okay. He's got nothing to do with what's happening. Now, I don't want to judge the President's performance over the last 3 years based on my barometers. Well, why don't we just use his own barometers? You know, he's the one who said we passed the stimulus bill. It'll create millions of new jobs immediately. And the fact is, millions of Americans have lost their jobs since. It's the President who said, hey, listen, if we pass this bill, unemployment will not exceed 8%. And now we're at 35 consecutive months of unemployment over 8%. So instead of making things better, I would argue that the President's policies have actually hurt our economy. And I do believe that consequently, the 2012 election is going to be a referendum on the President's economic policies. He's clearly going to try to make this about everything other than his own record. And so he's going to beat up on the Congress, he's going to do a lot of other things. But our job is to drive that point home. And we intend to do it. The member retreat last week, I talked about the importance of oversight. And, you know, oversight is there to drive a message to help educate members and educate others. And when you look at all the policies coming out of this administration, we need to do a better job of holding them accountable and telling the story about how these policies are damaging the private sector's ability to create jobs. You know, I just kicked off the retreat for the Energy and Commerce Committee. And just in that one committee, you've got dozens of regulations that we need to explore. Now, the Democrats are going to call this partisan politics, election year activities. But there are facts here, and the facts are that these policies aren't getting in the way of the private sector creating jobs. And so, in addition to that, I think it's incumbent upon us to offer the American people a competing vision of what we would do if we had the majority, we had the White House and had the Senate. So you'll see us talking about the need to overhaul our tax system. And probably make some of you in this room a little nervous. Right now, it makes me nervous. We're going to talk about it in big terms, all right? We don't want to get into the weeds, but our economy is being held back by a very uncompetitive tax system. On the corporate side, you all know we're about to have the highest rate in the world. It needs to be dealt with. On the personal side, it's so confusing, and it's, you know, the President will talk about how unfair the current system is. And I think with Mitt Romney's release this morning, he'll have a field day tonight, I think the President will, in terms of what he perceives for this to be unfair. But you probably don't realize that we spend $500 billion as a nation complying with the current tax bill. $500 billion. You know, I know what I pay my accountant. It's ridiculous. But this needs to be dealt with. It's not going to be easy. Neither one of them are going to be easy. But it's something that the American people want, something that we want, and you'll see us spend an awful lot of time, I think, talking about it. We can't grow our way out of this problem. While we need real economic growth, we can't grow our way out of our problem. I think it's also clear to people that we can't cut our way out of this problem. And so if you look at the formula that worked in the late 90s when we were able to balance a budget, it was about controlling cost and it was about real economic growth. The challenge, the big challenge that we have today that most Americans don't quite understand, don't quite have their arms around, is the fact that the economic challenges today are bigger. The cost problems, the spending problems out of this government are bigger. And what's driving it? What's driving it is 10,000 baby boomers retiring every single day. 10,000 more people on Social Security, 10,000 more on Medicare, people living longer accessing Medicaid. And so it's not about whacking the defense budget. It's not about whacking this program, although we've got to do all of the above. But if we're serious about balancing our budget and bringing some economic sense to this town, we've got to go with, who was it, Willie Sutton? They asked him why he robbed the banks, because that's where the money was. Well, guess what? We know where the spending is, and we know what has to be done. And unfortunately, the president just doesn't seem real interested in doing what has to be done. One of the biggest issues facing our country is the lack of leadership. And if you've watched the president, he started on Labor Day, and he has not stopped. He gave up governing on Labor Day, and all he has done for the last 4 months is campaign each and every day. So where's he going this week? He's going to 5 battleground states to try to drive home and extend the speech that he's giving tonight. This is not leadership. As I made clear to the president a year ago, and I said to reporters this morning, our job, even though we have very different ideas about what the appropriate role of the federal government is, our job is to find enough common ground to do what the American people need us to do. And to do that, it takes two. We're here. We're willing to help. We've got 27 bills sitting over in the United States Senate, jobs bills that they could deal with. But they want to lay it all off on us, that we're the problem. And I am going to make it clear each and every day. We have our plan for American job creators. This plan was put together last May, and we've been working on it all year. And as we get into this year, our number one focus is going to continue to be jobs. But if we want to get these enacted into law, it's time for the president and Harry Reid and Senate Democrats to get off their duff and at least come to the dance floor and to see if we can't do something that looks good to the American people. So let me say thank you again for being here today. It's going to be a wild year. Saddle up, tighten up that saddle, jump on, and get ready. Thank you.